Thank you everyone for being here today. We've had an opportunity to tour and to go through some of the devastated areas, and the damage to these communities in the part of the state that we have dealt with is unprecedented. They need our help. They need our help every day for the recovery efforts, and I'm committed to seeing this through. I've seen this devastation, our farmers, our educational institutions like this one, and have heard from our hardworking state forest rangers and foresters. We have to move fast and we have to move swift on this relief. We cannot waste any time. Clearing these lands of fallen timber as soon as possible must be a high priority to reduce the fuel for fires and to prevent the spread of invasive pine beetle. We have some requests to our lawmakers that will help fellow Floridians to recover and help clear and replant these lands. This will reduce the wildfire and will help rebuild these communities while protecting the Gulf Coast environment. We need to have a coordinated response between local, state, and federal officials. And I'm glad to be standing with our two elected officials here by my side, Senator Gaynor and Representative Drake. And I'm grateful for their efforts, as well as from the state forestry, from Jim Carls to my left, and all of our services across the state of Florida. We don't want our producers and our farmers in this region to have a lost season. We can't afford that to happen. So we are going to fight every single day to bring a solution here to this area. Grant funding for state-backed low-cost loans to replace crops, cost sharing for efficient new irrigation systems, and sales tax exemptions for equipment and materials to rebuild these farms, which will stimulate our local economies here. We're working with our partners in the House and in the Senate to get this done, help people get on their feet, get back to work, and get their lives back, and to make sure they don't miss another harvest. This must be the top priority of my administration, and we will be working with our partners to get this done.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner. This is probably the first time that we've ever had to face a problem this big, but realizing that we've got our State Agricultural Commissioner over here seeing what we're seeing, because you got to see it. We try to tell people about it, especially in Tallahassee, and you can't. They can't possibly fathom what we're all going through. But I don't think they would never realize just how much you folks are doing to make a difference, especially right here at Chipola. This is a good model, a good example of what you do when you just get knocked slap down. And everybody's going to get up, dust themselves off, and we're going to go better than we went before. It'll be different, but it can be better. And I want to thank you again for coming and how much it means to all of us that we keep the problems of this area and this recovery in front of everybody's eyes. They've all got to know, they've all got to buy in. We've got a lot of help from Tallahassee, but we need a lot more. Thank you for being here, and thank you for covering this so good.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Commissioner. I look out here at this landscape. It's changed so much. What used to be a beautiful community with a lot of old vegetation and historic live oak trees and a lot of things that we used to cherish as important. The landscape's changed, but the people and the hearts here in this community has not. And it's easy oftentimes when our power is restored, our cell phones are working again. A lot of times we feel like things are back in order and that our lives are back the way that they were, but that's not true. Healing is very difficult at times. It takes time and it takes a collective effort. And it's not a partisan issue. When people are trying to rebuild their lives, we don't care about what political affiliation someone is or where they come from. We appreciate everyone's help. And I'm very grateful that our new Commissioner of Agriculture, who's only been on the job for just a few weeks now, she would take time out of her day to come over here and visit us firsthand and see what we're going through and we're living through each and every day here in our community. And Commissioner Freed, this community stands with our arms open wide. We'll accept you and into this community. You're a part of us now, and we do appreciate you being here, and anything that we can do to help you do your job better, we're going to be here for you. So we thank you again, and I know you said you want to keep coming back and that you'll keep your eye on things over here, and we can't ask for anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Senator, Representative, Hurricane Michael delivered a devastating blow to the Panhandle, but we're here to recover. We're all looking to the future. From the forestry end, we're looking to reduce the fire threat. We're looking to help the forest landowners get back on their feet, open their lands, clear their lands, and become working forest or productive ag lands again. And we're working in the rural communities, whether it be Panama City, whether it be Mariana, whether it be Chipola. We are working to replant these communities, to beautify them again, and to someday really be able to step back and say we did it, we recovered, and that's where we want to go. Thank you.
And I just want to close that, we had the opportunity to speak to some of our farmers earlier today, and what we've been able to see is the resiliency of this community, the love that they have for what they have done for generation after generation, and making sure that this land is vital for the generations to come, to make sure that they're replanting, they're reharvesting, but really that the heart and soul of our entire state is up here in the Panhandle, and we are going to stand by them every step along the way. I know it's very easy after a hurricane, when everybody's electricity goes back on and everybody goes back to school and to work, the rest of the state, it's easy to kind of forget what happens here. And so what I have pledged to everybody here is that we are not going to forget. We are going to stand side by side as we replant, as we get our crops back into the ground, and we make sure that this community is vital, not just for the economics, but for the livelihood and for the heart and soul of the people that are living in these communities. So thank you for being here today. We have your back, and we will be here every step along the way.
Commissioner, what is, oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to thank the Commissioner, the Senator, Representative, and our partners, the Forestry Service, for being here today. The recovery is all such a priority for all of them, and we just so much appreciate that. So on behalf of the faculty, the staff, and students at Chipola College, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Forgive me. What did the farmers tell you they need?
We asked earlier, and a lot of it is equipment. A lot of, as you see, the type of equipment that they usually use to clear the timber is stuff when it's standing upright. And so there's a lot of debris that's in front of the timber, a lot of its manpower getting here. I've talked to our forestry division, which I want to also do a shout out to all of our forestry who put their families, got through their own cutting of their timber on their houses, and then went out to save lives and to save homes. And so a lot of it is equipment. A lot of it is, barns were knocked off and blown away, fences, and so a lot of it is just rebuilding the basics. But in clearing out their land, when they've got hundreds and hundreds of acres of timber on the ground, and they know that this is prime time to get it off before we get into the dry season. So time is not on our side, so as much equipment that we can get here and more people to bulldoze the areas.
You're going to have a package for the legislature?
We are going to be working with the legislature. I know that Carl had done a presentation to the department, to the Senate Ag Committee last week on the requests, and so Senator Gaynor has graciously started to put forth some of those dollars, and so there'll be a package that we're going to be working together with the legislature for this recovery.
Commissioner, Senator Montford has raised the idea of possibly using funds from Amendment 1. Is that something that you've looked into, or you, Senator Representative, is that something they've looked into?
Yeah, we have actually started to look into that, and I believe that Representative Drake has a legislation that he's also working on some of these aspects. I do believe that Amendment 1 funding would be something that can be utilized to help in this recovery efforts.
There's been a lack of donations to organizations like the Red Cross, compared to other previous hurricanes. Maybe this is for the senator or the representative. Those lack of donations, how has that affected the recovery effort? Is this just a lack of public awareness? Maybe people being tired, storm after storm after storm, and kind of forgetting about this area in particular? Or?
I attribute that, if it exists, to the fact that this has been, we had a fire in California, and it was a bad fire, but this is the worst, probably one of the worst national disasters that we've ever had, and it's been treated like nothing. This hurricane has been probably, if you add everyone we've had in the last 10 years, put them all in one, you might still have half of Michael. And I think they were either overwhelmed or they for a while they couldn't even get in here. I mean, it was so bad that you couldn't even drive down the road. It took people weeks to just clear the highways off. And I don't know the answer to what you're saying, but I would say it was the lack of people to take this as serious and for it to get the kind of publicity that any other, I mean, they'll have a shooting, which is horrible, for 2 people. And it's more than 45 people that lost their life during this hurricane. I mean, this you have to be here to see it, and I think that's one of the worst things. I tell people how bad this thing is, and they couldn't be that bad. But when they've been here an hour, they know it.
Did the federal shutdown affect the recovery?
100%. A lot of our farmers could not apply for federal loans, for assistance, for any of the access to these dollars. So we saw firsthand that the shutdown of the government definitely had an impact on getting dollars down here and getting that negotiation up and running. You know, I'm hopeful, you know, the governor announced last week that there's going to be federal dollars coming down. So hopefully with the government back up and running in the next few weeks, that there'll be a package and a deal that will be created for that.
Is there anything specifically the cabinet could do as opposed to the legislature?
You know, as we go through kind of the Land and Rural Family program, there might be some access into those areas that we can streamline through the cabinet. So we're still looking into exactly what we can do and what we are going to have to do to step up while the legislature is in session and negotiating their budgets. We're hoping that we can get some relief dollars at the front end, but we may have to step up and potentially maybe use reserve dollars if that's something in the game plan.
Have you ever been to this part of the state before?
I have a couple of times. I did come once during the campaign cycle, but I have been here other times on vacations. But seeing today, this is a first, and seeing the devastation.
Before and after is fairly dramatic.
It certainly is, and I've been seeing pictures of before, and then obviously today. And what is exactly as Senator Gaynor said, if you don't see it firsthand, you can't appreciate the devastation. And I think that having both myself and the governor now and within a week period of time out to this area continues to bring light to this issue and to make sure that there's attention, that we are not done here, that just because people have gone back to work does not mean that we need to keep our eyes, we have to keep our eyes on over in this area.
Ma'am, how did the college come out in the storm? How much damage did y'all have?
The roofs on campus are still. We are so proud of the recovery that we have made. We had about 1,000 trees on our campus that are no longer standing. When we tried to approach the college right after the storm, there was no passage on the roads coming into the facility, and then once you got here, not only the roads were blocked, but the whole campus was covered with our beautiful canopy of live oaks and tall pines. But we have been so fortunate to be able to get back on campus, get our classes started. And many of our students and faculty are displaced. Most people that I know had at least one tree on their home, many 2 or 3. So life has changed. But the people here are resilient. We have been working with our students to help them. People are doing things like carpooling, sharing babysitting services. We're working with students one-on-one to help them find a way to continue their education. And so we'll continue to do that. And we're feeling very good about the hope that's been offered here today.
Director Carls, could you tell us a little more about the threat of fire from the down timber? Like, where are we at right now? You said the dry season's coming up.
Landscape's changed here. To give you an example, in scientific fire terms, average tons of fuel on the ground in this area run about 4.8 tons per acre. Right now, that average is 50 to 100 tons per acre. So it's 10 or 12, 15, 20 times as much as it was. Access is a huge issue, and that's why we're working with landowners all across the Panhandle to help them open their woods roads, open their fire lines, give us access into these fires. The threat's up significantly if it stops raining. Smoke will be a huge issue. We're looking at how do we reduce the threat long term? How do we start to prescribed burn. How do we start to deal with this? And the biggest thing first off is starting to open up lanes and roads and fire lines into the devastated areas.
You got a timeline?
How long? How long the fire threat could exist? It depends on how well we recover. It depends on what we are all able to do in the way of helping the landowners. Every acre that is able to be recovered, to salvage it, or to clear it, to replant it, will reduce that threat. Without that, easy 5 to 10 years. Maybe with good recovery, 3 to 5 years, yet that we still have elevated fire conditions.
Have you put a price tag on the recovery yet?
I have not. We put some packages into Congress on potential recovery, but that's not a price tag on everything.
Last question, anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You-